The Democrats, who have been saying that there are rigged elections, problematic machines, problems with voting systems for a long time now. But who are you going to believe, the mainstream media or your own lying eyes? Let's have a look.
Virginia just stopped using touchscreen computer voting because it's so vulnerable.
Right.
We need to look at all the voting machines. Every Secretary of State needs to be, assisted in making sure that they are not being hacked and attacked.
I continue to think that our voting machines are too vulnerable.
Researchers have repeatedly demonstrated that ballot recording machines and other voting systems are susceptible to tampering.
So you don't like the voting machines? What about the Dominion ones?
Even hackers with limited prior knowledge, tools, and resources are able to breach voting machines in a matter of minutes.
So you see, in microcosm, democracy means we get a mandate for what we want to do anyway. In the event we lose, we complain about the system. The Republicans do it, and plainly, as you just saw, the Democrats do it.
In 2018, electronic voting machines in Georgia and Texas deleted votes for certain candidates or switched votes from one candidate to another.
The biggest seller of voting machines is doing something that violates Cybersecurity 101, directing that you install remote access software, which would make a machine like that a magnet for fraudsters and hackers.
These voting machines can be hacked quite easily.
So the legitimacy of elections and the results of elections is something that's been queried for a long time. Here are voices of the Democrat Party in various settings making the exact same claim.
You could easily hack into them. It makes it seem like all these states are doing different things, but in fact, 3 companies are controlling this.
It is the individual voting machines that pose some of the greatest risks.
There are a lot of states that are dealing with antiquated machines, right, which are vulnerable to being hacked.
So basically they just say stuff unless they win. Unless they win, they say the problem is the machine. You don't see any more politicians going, listen, we lost fair and square, but ultimately we all love America and we want American people to succeed.
Workers were able to easily hack into an electronic voting machine. It was possible to switch votes.
43% of American voters use voting machines that researchers have found have serious security flaws, including backdoors.
Backdoors. I think that Dominion needs to look into Ron Wyden. He hates voting machines. Backdoors, they've got bad breath and stinking little dicks.
We know how vulnerable now our systems were. I know the hackathon that took place last year, where virtually every machine was broken into fairly quickly.
Oh my God, all of them, they're all broken. None of them work. Dominion watching this.
I actually held a demonstration for my colleagues here at the Capitol, where we brought in folks who, before our eyes, hacked election machines.
These are the same people that, after Trump made the claims that the election was rigged, went, that's impossible. How dare you say that? You, sir, are a disgrace to democracy, and you keep causing insurrections, and your hair's ridiculous, and you're orange, and that's all there really is to discuss. This once again shows you there are no ultimate values or principles. There's just rhetoric attached to achieving the outcomes that they would prefer to achieve that are themselves tethered to financial interests that they're personally affected by. Look at all the nepotism, look at all the stock ownership, and look at the way they legislate on the behalf of big business.
I'm very concerned that you could have a hack that finally went through. You have 21 states that were hacked into. They didn't find out about it for a year.
It is worth fighting for integrity in our election system, which means that they are free from interference by a hostile or an unfriendly nation.
Like Russia, for example. No evidence of that at all. Absolutely no evidence. Completely cooked up media concoction in conjunction with the Democrat Party.
There's a saying that I'm sure many of you have heard, which is the difference between being hacked and not being hacked.
Go on.
Is knowing you've been hacked.
Yeah, okay, don't do that joke again. Hillary, how do you feel about voting machines? Do you have a principled perspective on them that will not change depending on whether you win or lose an election? The opinion will stay the same, right?
There are some tax experts in Silicon Valley with whom I have met who say that maybe what they'll do this next time is to really disrupt the actual election. Shut down the servers that you send results to. Interfere with the operation of voting machines because still too many of them are linked to the internet. So we are still very vulnerable.
Why don't they just accept that some people vote for Donald Trump because they're disillusioned with the political class? And why don't we all accept more broadly that the problem is deeply systemic and is a result of the ability of powerful deep state and corporate interest to manipulate the congressional and democratic process to the point where democracy is sort of a facade? Okay, so after the 2016 election, the Democrats said there's a problem with voting machines. But after the 2020 election, there's no problem with voting machines. What an amazing miracle. After Republican victories in 2000, 2004 and 2016, Democrats in Congress used the formal counting of electoral votes as an opportunity to challenge election results. Derek Muller, a law professor at the University of Iowa, wrote in a New York Times opinion piece in 2021. In January 2001, Representative Maxine Waters joined several other Democrats challenging George W. Bush's victory, claiming Florida's electoral votes were fraudulent. In January 2005, after Bush's re-election, Senator Barbara Boxer formally challenged Ohio's electoral vote, even though Bush won Ohio by more than 118,000 votes. Wait, let's recount that, because what they've done is that 118,000 votes could have been done by a little cyber Lego hacker that gets in the machine. Did you see the Lego movie? They're bastards. In January 2017, after Trump's victory, Representative Sheila Jackson Lee said there was the malfunction of 87 voting machines, and Representative Jim McGovern, Democrat, Massachusetts, said there were confirmed and illegal activities engaged by the government of Russia in the 2016 election. Then as now, each member of Congress was within their rights to make an objection, Mueller wrote. But the objections were naive at best, shameless at worst. Either way, the readiness of members of Congress to disenfranchise millions of Americans was disconcerting. And now there's Stacey Abrams, the Democrat who ran for governor of Georgia, who claims that Brian Kemp, the Republican who beat her 4 years ago, won under the rules of the game at the time, but the game was rigged against the voters of Georgia. Fraudulent electoral votes, malfunctioning voting machines, rigged elections. Sound familiar? Well, yeah, it does actually. It sounds like exactly what's being claimed right now. How is it different? If the election results go their way, these are some of the best electoral machines we've ever... How dare you criticize those machines? This Dominion voting machine's been like a brother to you. How dare you criticize it? You lost the election, you little son of a bitch, you little Russian racist son of a fuck!
I sit on the Senate Intelligence Committee and Senate Homeland Security Committee. And we receive all kinds of information about the vulnerabilities to our national security. We are vulnerable in terms of foreign interference with our elections.
Did you see that? On the road to the White House 2020. So when they're on the way to the White House, oh my God, we could lose. The voting machines, if we do lose, they are terrible voting machines. They could be hacked by, a Russian in a hat with snow in their boots, with cancer, like Putin. Bastard son of bitches. You've won the election. Those are some of the best voting machines. Look at this little guy. I love it. What a reliable voting machine. How can I stay mad at you?